900 iron-fitted war carts stood on the plain by the Kishon, and Israel had none. For 20 years the king of Canaan pressed them hard, forcing the people who once crossed the Jordan in triumph to keep to the hills. The Malbim notes that the text links Israel's decline to a time when their previous leader, Ehud, was still alive. His personal merit had shielded them while he lived, but the nation began to slip before he was even gone. This oppressor, Yavin, ruled from Sheroshet, the same Hatzor that Joshua had burned to the ground generations earlier. Now risen again, these unconquered nations became the thorns in Israel's side that the prophets had warned of. Faced with 900 chariots of iron, the people reached a point of absolute hopelessness. The Malbim observes that their response shifted from a simple cry for help to a scream, driven by 20 years of taunts and blasphemy. The woman who answered that scream was unlike any deliverer before her. Deborah was a prophetess. Her name, a woman of torches, described a spirit that burned swift and bright. She sat beneath a single date palm between Ramah and Bethel, where the people climbed the dusty slopes of the hill country to seek her judgment. The Malbim compares the people to the tree itself. Just as the palm has but one heart of wood, Israel had one unified heart toward their Father in heaven. They traveled from the ends of the land to be judged by her. This convergence at the palm tree shows that Israel's path to military salvation began with a return to spiritual unity. Deborah sent for the commander Barak and gave him a direct word from God: draw 10,000 men to Mount Tabor from the tribes of Naphtali and Zebulun. Barak answered with a condition: he would lead the army only if the prophetess marched beside him. The Malbim reads this as a calculated strategy for a miracle. Barak understood the people would only muster on the prophet's word, and he reasoned that a victory against such overwhelming odds required her merit to secure divine help. Deborah agreed to go, but told him his request changed the nature of the victory. The glory of the rescue would bypass him and fall to the hands of women. Into the hand of a woman the Lord will deliver Sisera. At this moment, a wandering tribesman named Kever the Kenite pitched his tent near Kadesh. God had positioned him there, setting the physical location for the rescue that was to come. The battle ahead would not be won by standard military strength, but by a physical army relying on the unseen merit of a prophetess. Barak went up to Mount Tabor on foot, an irregular band of 10,000 men with no horses and no chariots. Below them, Sisera summoned his entire host and all 900 iron war carts to the brook of Kishon. Deborah told Barak, "Arise, for this is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hand. Has not the Lord gone out before you?" The Malbim and Abarbanel describe a victory won by the environment itself. God threw the host into a panic. The Canaanites heard the roar of chariots that were not there. As a sudden wind churned the ground into mud, the horses scattered in terror. Sisera leapt down from his heavy chariot and fled into the hills on foot. Barak did not have to fight a traditional battle. He simply pursued a broken enemy. The technological dominance of the Canaanite chariots was undone by shifting light and wet ground, leaving the final outcome to be decided away from the battlefield. Sisera ran to the tent of Yael, thinking himself safe because of a peace treaty between his king and her house. She came out to meet him in the dim interior of the goat-hair tent. She covered the exhausted commander and gave him milk to drink. Spent from his flight, he fell into a deep sleep. Regarding the betrayal of a guest, the Malbim notes that the house of Hever belonged to Israel. Yael was bound to take up the quarrel of her people and their God against their oppressor. She took the tools of her nomadic life, a mallet in one hand and a wooden tent peg in the other. The Malbim says Yael lacked the physical strength to drive the peg herself. It was heaven's help that pulled the wood downward, while the man, dead asleep, never woke. When Barak arrived at the tent, Yael went out to meet him, offering to show him the man he sought. The national deliverance had fallen to a woman's hand, exactly as Deborah had spoken. And behold, Sisera lay fallen, dead, the tent peg through his temple. That day God subdued the king of Canaan. The hand of Israel grew heavier upon him, until his power was entirely erased. The land remained quiet throughout the days of Deborah. The Malbim attributes this peace to the people's righteousness. While she lived, they held to their faith and did not fall.